is Winnie, and I'm over this. Okay, we'll put you back. Hello! I am so excited that this day is here at long last. Hold on, I have to sit cross-legged. I'm so excited. It's launch week here on Pretty Neat Living. Organized Jen is officially a thing of the past. It'll still always be a part of my past and it's still part of who I am, but we have moved on to Organized Jen 2.0, which is now known as Pretty Neat Living. And I am super duper excited about this. This has been a work in progress for about a year now. I mean, start to finish. The real brunt of the work has been the last 6 months, but it's been a dream of mine for at least a year now, and it's finally here, and I'm so excited, and here we are. I thought I would sit down and take a few minutes to kind of just talk through my process with you, why I decided to change my name, how I came up with the name, and then the steps I took to get from organizedjen.com to prettyneatliving.com. Because I know there's gonna be some questions about that, and feel free, if I don't answer your question, to ask below, and maybe down the line I can do a dedicated Q&A if there's enough questions about it. But I'll try to kind of cover everything without talking your ear off for an hour, which I can do, because I'm chatty. So basically what happened is, about a year and a half ago, about the beginning of 2014, I started to feel like Organized Jen, my title from 2010 up until that point, just wasn't really suiting me and my content anymore. It felt a little bit too narrow, a little bit too specific. I felt like when people found me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or even just on YouTube with Organized Like Jen, that it wasn't giving them the full picture. It wasn't painting the whole breadth of what I like to share. I do love to share about organization. I always will, because I love organizing things, and I share my passions with you, and that's definitely one of my passions, and it's definitely part of who I am and what I do. But it's not everything. It's not a channel or a social media feed or whatever just about organization. Obviously, if you follow me, you know that I talk about lots of other things. I talk about my life. I share personal anecdotes from my life. I vlog. I share with you trip recaps. I talk about my week. We share recipes between me and Dawn. I share my crafts and hobbies. And then I also talk about things I love, my favorites, beauty stuff, style things, books I'm reading, movies I'm into, all of that kind of stuff. It covers there's a wide range of stuff that's not really has anything to do with organization in addition to my organization content. So it felt like it was time for a change. So it was really about in the early summer last year where I started thinking, I'm gonna work on this. I'm gonna really start thinking about it. But I didn't really actively pursue it. I just kind of let it percolate in my mind. I was like, well, first of all, I need to come up with a new name. And the more I thought about it, the harder it was to think of. So by the time it got to the fall of last year, of 2014, I was kind of brain fried from trying to brainstorm names. I really couldn't think of anything at all that would really sum everything up. So, what are you doing, silly? I'm sorry, she's so distracting. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna think about it for a little while and see what happens. Well, lo and behold, mid-fall last year, I don't know what I was doing. I was having a very zen moment, whatever it was. Pretty Neat popped into my brain. It was like, the light bulbs went off, the angels sang. That was it. That was the perfect thing. And I was like, well, there's no way that's not taken. And lo and behold, somebody does own that website. And I actually contacted the person. They were not willing to sell. They've actually owned the site for a very, very long time and have never done anything with it, which makes me think they do want to sell it maybe someday to somebody for a lot of money that I was not willing to pay, but that didn't even come up. So I really got hooked on the idea of Pretty Neat. It was just summed up everything I wanted it to be perfectly. Pretty Neat to me means not perfect, but pretty good. It means you know, things are pretty neat. Life is pretty neat. Things are good. It's not always perfect. It's not always terrible. It can be pretty neat, pretty good. And then also when it comes to organization, I am of the mindset that there is no one size fits all, that things do not have to be perfect aesthetically speaking to be organized. If it works for you, if it functions for you, then it's an organizational system. For instance, my husband makes piles and piles of stuff in his office. Not neat, not even close to tidy. But it's how he organizes. It's how he functions. It's different from me, but it works for him. So that's good. Works for him. It's pretty neat for him. Do you know what I mean? So I mean, it just kind of fit all the categories, like all of the things I like to talk about, and I could not part with the name. So I started brainstorming with family and friends about something to add to the name so that I could get a URL and have a name using Pretty Neat in it. And we kept coming back to Pretty Neat Living. I can't even remember the different variations we went through. I think it was maybe January of this year. Was it around the beginning of this year? I think it was January or February where I reached out to you guys and asked for your feedback on what you would be interested in seeing in a rebranding for me in terms of a name. And living and lifestyle were two of the most common threads that came up, and that just kind of sealed it in for me. From that moment on, honestly, I had been a little bit worried that Pretty Neat Living was too close to Martha Stewart Living, and that it would just be seem like kind of copycat-ish. But at the end of the day, it's really not the same thing at all. It's not Jennifer Ross Living, it's not, and our logos don't look anything alike. It just fits so well. And my husband Don convinced me that even if people saw a connection with Martha Stewart Living, that's not a bad thing. I very much admire Martha's business model and what she shares and how she shares through her business. And I don't think it's so bad to want to emulate that. There's a difference between copying someone and being inspired by them. And I'm definitely inspired by the Martha Stewart Living model. So Don convinced me that it wasn't a bad thing to have that connection there. And really, I don't think about it at all. Oh, what's wrong? You want to get down? Oh, you don't want to be in the video? Okay. Your input sealed the deal for me to keep the living in there and to really embrace it, because really it kind of completes the name, and now I think it's better than just being Pretty Neat. Now I think it really fully encompasses everything that I want it to. So that was the first process. That was the longest process, was finding the name and then really working through it and becoming comfortable and confident about it. And now I can't think of any other thing that it could be, because it's just perfect to me. So that was the first step. And then, actually, when I was at the conference that I went to in Salt Lake City in January for Altitude Summit, I met somebody there, a fellow YouTuber and blogger, Jennifer McGuire, who makes amazing handmade cards. You probably know of her if you're into crafting in that kind of way, but if not, I will link her sites below, because she's definitely worth a look. She had talked to me about this company that she was looking into working with, because I had been, I was full throttle looking for help with the rebranding by then. I knew it was something that I could not do by myself. I knew I needed a designer. I knew I needed a web developer to get everything going, because I knew I wanted to redo the site to kind of better fit the new name, and to better fit the content so that it really highlighted my content without distracting from it. I love my Organized Gen design. It was by designer blogs, and it was custom designed for me, specifically per my requests. It was exactly what I had been looking for at the time, and it suited me well. It was like just over 2 years that I had that blog design, but it just didn't, I kind of grew out of it. I wanted something a little cleaner, a little easier to navigate, still colorful, still whimsical, still me, but just a little different. Anyway, Jennifer introduced me to Ipso Creative, which is this amazing company based out of Akron, Ohio, that does rebranding work and web development and design. They haven't worked with a lot of bloggers before. In fact, I think I'm one of the few that they've worked with so far. They've worked with more corporate, commercial companies, but it's an amazing kind of smaller company that's an all in-house company. So I had the design team, I had the development team, and I had the video animated graphic animation team, which I'll talk about a little bit later, all in one place. And those were kind of all things that I was looking for. And it just, what I gleaned from that conference after sitting down at a round table about rebranding was that working with separate people can be a real pain in the rear. Like, it's really hard to communicate when you're working with individuals. It can be done, but it's just, I knew that it was gonna be more expensive to go with a bigger company that did everything in-house, but to me it was worth it just to make it an easier process and also just more seamless, so there's more direct communication between the parts. And that is what I got. This was not an inexpensive undertaking. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not gonna tell you numbers, you guys, so please don't ask. I'm not really comfortable sharing that, but I poured a lot into this in monetarily speaking, as well as, you know, just in my heart and soul. But to me, it was a very worthwhile investment. And I don't think of it as like, oh, I'm gonna make all this money back, blah, blah, blah. No, I never really think about the money making side of things with my content. That's kind of just like a bonus side thing that happens sometimes. I really don't make like a huge amount of money, but I make some which is good for the amount of time I put into everything. But I really wanted to invest my money in this project because I wanted my rebranding and my new website and my new look to really encompass me and really be polished and professional and run smoothly. And I went with Ipso because they were able to provide that with me, or for me, I should say, in a really down-to-earth, very connected way. I think working with the smaller company, and these were all very talented people, all very, very nice and easy to talk to and easy to get along with, made the process go that much more smoothly because I was able to communicate without feeling like, you know, I felt like we were on equal levels when we were discussing things. I didn't feel like I was like you know, I don't know anything, you're the big shot who knows everything. Never felt like that. I felt like I could honestly and easily express myself, and I was heard. And they really did hear me. I really didn't have a very clear idea of what I wanted the site to be like. I did with the organized Jen design. I had very specific ideas. I really didn't have very specific ideas with the Pretty Neat Living logo or the web design. I knew kind of generally the vibe I wanted. I wanted it to be casual feeling and approachable, but also clean and polished looking, I guess is the word I'm looking for, but still, you know, like relatable. I wanted it to be soft, but easy to navigate, and easy to see, and easy to read, and all, you know, all those things. And I went in with that feedback, and I said, and you know, people seem to like the bee. That was another thing you guys really were suggesting when I asked for that feedback earlier in the year. In addition to, you know, talking about incorporating lifestyle or living or whatever into the title, was also keeping the bee element somehow, because that's kind of become part of my image, right? So I was like, well, let's keep the bee, but let's like redesign the bee so it's different. And the design team heard me, knew exactly what I meant, and honestly, you guys, it was like the first take, they nailed it. They nailed the general concept. I mean, the website, the color palette, there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of pinning things on Pinterest and all of that jazz. And I had some ideas about the kind of colors I wanted and the kind of fonts I wanted, but I really didn't know how it would come all together. And they really, really nailed it because they listened to me. And they took the time to like watch my content, to read my content, to understand what I was about. And that made everything super easy. So I started with them in February, is when we started talking about things. And the web design process took a couple of months. But it was just, there was just different steps. There was the getting to know you phase, there was the back and forth phase about ideas, and then there was the, kind of storyboard phase, and then there was the presenting first looks at things. And like I said, the first look was pretty spot on, and it was really just details that we worked on because they got the big picture right away. The logo came together really quickly. I'm super happy with it. It's exactly how I wanted it to be. I didn't even know what I wanted to be, but that's it. And I love the new bee, the new redesigned bee. He's stylized, but he's also familiar. He's friendly, but he's unique. And I love that. And what else? And the color palette's spot on for me right now. I just feel like it really brings you into the site. It feels warm and inviting without being like overwhelming in terms of things you're looking at and colors, bright colors and things. I didn't want the site to be super, super white. That's a really trendy thing right now, is to have super clean blogs. I wanted the new design to look clean and be easy to navigate, but I still wanted to have that kind of homey, casual feel to it. And I think they struck the perfect balance. I love how they incorporated the honeycomb into the design to kind of pull in almost a more modern feel, which isn't usually my vibe, but it balances out the more whimsical sides of things with the flourishy bee and the scripty font that I use in the logo now. So it's a nice balance, and I couldn't have been happier with that. So once we nailed down the design process, it was time to move on to development, and that's where they really took over. I was very heavily involved in the design. There was a lot of back and forth. I've had weekly meetings with them since February, and I continued those even through the development process, but they basically built that site for me from scratch. They didn't use a WordPress theme or anything that was already made. They have two coders, two developers who built it from scratch, and it is just amazing. And the reasoning behind doing this, which is more expensive, to be honest, but I don't really know yet because I haven't experienced the new site long enough, but apparently it's supposed to allow for a more seamless user experience. It's supposed to be less bugs, less hiccups, and just a more smooth experience. As a user, I'm in a faster, more responsive website. We are mobile responsive now. Is that what it's called? Where, the site now resizes to, either if you're on your phone or your tablet, it will resize accordingly, which I never had before, which is awesome. And yeah, it just, that process also took a couple of months. So, from start to finish, it was about a 6-month process. And we're still working out a few kinks here and there. There's always going to be a couple of bugs when you launch something new, but for the most part, it's running amazingly well, I think, considering it just blows my mind that they built it from scratch. They basically took the designer's design, which they did in Photoshop, and they coded it and made it into a website. I'm like, jaw on the floor, how do you do that? I do not know. I wish I had that skill set, but I do not, which is why I paid somebody else to do it for me. But I couldn't be happier with the people at Ipso. And then, like I said, I mentioned earlier, they also have their kinetic department, which kind of specializes in motion graphics. I can't get that right. I always say that wrong. I might have just said it wrong. I'm so excited, it's hard to talk. But obviously not too hard because I've been talking for 21 minutes. Oh, I better wrap this up. This is long. Anyway, I knew I wanted help with creating new intro and exit slides that incorporated my new logo with some sort of motion graphics. Where, the bee could move and stuff, just be more unique and to me, and just way more complicated than something I could ever figure out how to do. And I also thought that they would be great to help me with a channel trailer, which is something I've been meaning to do for 3 years, but it's always been so daunting. And I wanted it, if I was ever gonna do it, I wanted it to be something that would last for a while, that would be, that would really reflect my content. And I knew waiting until the rebranding was the right time to do it, and they were able to help me with that. They did an amazing job with the video. I will link it for you guys if you haven't seen it. Please check it out. It's like less than 2 minutes long, so it won't take you as long to watch it as it does to take this, but does to watch this, I mean. But I couldn't be happier with it. I love the little bee moving around now. I just think it's so cute. And I'll have those intro and exit slides too. Basically, that's like the front part of my video that kind of introduces you to the video, and then the end where I link, you know, previous videos for you guys. Now that'll be updated with the motion graphics as well, so I'm super excited about it. So all that was in-house, which made it super easy. Couldn't be happier with how everything turned out. And now that leaves us here. And I'm just ecstatic. I feel so good about this whole thing. I feel like this is just a natural progression of my sharing. And I really do, I mean, I think if you watch that channel trailer, you'll get the message that I'm hoping that my sharing inspires you to share either with me or with somebody else or with yourself or whatever it is. That is really true. Those aren't just buzzwords I said to make like a fun video or whatever. I really honestly feel that way. I really hope my main purpose in sharing is that it brings me so much joy to know that sharing is a way to connect with others. And it's a way to connect that I never thought was ever going to be possible for me. You know, in my 20s, I struggled with anxiety, specifically social anxiety, and I've really come a long way with the help of therapy. And also, I believe a lot has to do with my sharing with you guys for the last 5 years. I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary. If I haven't already passed it, I might have. Since I started my Organize Like Jen channel, I have grown as a person so much, and I have you to thank for that, because sharing genuinely with you, as I do on camera and in my blog, and you know, through my writing, has made me feel connected and like it's okay to be me. And that's what I'm hoping that I leave with you, at least in some way, whether you know it or not, that it's okay to be you. It's okay to do things your way. It's okay if you don't organize things the way I organize things. Like, if you do, that's great, but if it doesn't work for you, why do that? Same goes with my other content in terms of my favorites and, you know, things I like, and then my sharing my life and stuff. It's a way to connect. And it's a funny thing, because with the internet, it's never this weird parallel where, not parallel, but almost like a clashing, where it's like, now we have all these ways to share, but it can feel a little bit cold. It can feel a little bit distant because we're not connecting in person. But I feel like this kind of content and this kind of sharing feels very personable, feels very friendly. And I really hope you get that sense too. I really consider all of you my friends. I mean, you have helped me grow so much as a person, and I'm so excited to continue sharing with you and hearing from you guys. Please continue to share with me in the comments and on my social media and stuff. I love hearing from you guys. And I love seeing you guys interact and share with each other. Share tips and stuff in the comments and stuff. That just makes my heart smile. Yeah. That's kind of the whole spiel. This was a really long video, so I'm going to stop talking now, but I just want to thank you guys for your support over the years. If you've been following me for a while, or even if you've just been following me for a couple days, whatever, thank you for your support. I do appreciate it so much, and I am so excited about this new look. My content, really, I don't expect it to change a whole lot. I expect the kind of sharing I do to continue. I just now feel like it's packaged in a more accurate way, that more accurately reflects who I am and what I'm all about and what my sharing is all about. So I hope you guys are as excited or at least a little bit excited, or even if you're not excited. I just hope you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you have any more specific questions about my journey. I will list the people I mentioned below, including, you know, like I said, Jennifer McGuire's sites and also the Ipso Creative folks website. Totally worth a gander if you're interested. And yeah, I look forward to much more sharing with you now in my new pretty neat way. You knew I had to throw that in there somewhere. And I hope that you guys share back with me. I will see you guys really soon. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.